The Monster Times, Volume 1, Number 1, published in January 1972 by the Monster Times Publishing Company. Greetings, friends. Today we are looking at the very first issue of the Monster Times, Volume 1, Number 1, published in January of 1972 by the Monster Times Publishing Company. Now, as you can see, this particular copy is a little worse for wear. Of course, I have had it for many decades, but it is still intact, I am pleased to say. And boy, are there some great articles, art, and stills in this issue. And wait until you see the bonus monster-sized color poster inside. Page 1 starts off with a monster-sized article by Steve Vertlieb called The Men Who Saved King Kong. Steiner, O'Brien, Cooper, the men of the hour. Well, as you can see, this newspaper is rather huge, so we're going to try to fit it in as much as possible to give you the best view. Here we have the Monster Times, of course, issue number 1 index page, and a little editorial by Chuck McNaughton, who was the editor at the time. Every 2 weeks, future issues of Monster Times will theme themselves about Star Trek, next issue, Frankenstein, Flash Gordon, werewolves, the War of the Worlds, giant bugs on the munch, Edgar Rice Burroughs, the ghastly and the great horror comics of the 1950s, etc. Plus a captivating cornucopia of creative, creepish comics, pulsating posters, nerve-numbing news releases, freakish fan happenings, and wrenching reportage of general goings-on in the ever-expanding cantankerous cosmos of the 20th century's popular arts renaissance. So in the index here, of course, we have The Men Who Saved King Kong, as we've seen on page 1. Nosferatu, really great article on Der Golem, with the history of the Golem. Quite fascinating. Another in-depth article on Buck Rogers. The Monster Market on page 15, and the spectacular Monster Times poster bonus on page 16. Wait until you see this, folks. The Ghouls book review, Mushroom Monsters, Monster Times series on the 50s Bomb movies, page 19. Nosferatu, a graphic interpretation by guess who? Things to Come, the most prophetic film ever made, page 22. My Teletype and Con Calendar. Yes, indeed, that is coming up on page 18. Monster Fanfare, where you can advertise for monsters and comics. Here we go, folks. Well, we start off, of course, on page 3 with Nosferatu, Whatever Happened to the Vampire, by Dave Izzo, comparing Bela Lugosi and Max Schreck's versions of the famous monster. A little bit of Dracula hilarity on the right column here by Carlos Garzon. Dracula rises from the grave. He's walking around scaring the hell out of chicks and so forth, running and splishing and splashing through the mud. And then, of course, we see that he's gone to his coffin outhouse and finally relieved himself. Der Golem, the first Frankenstein. Very interesting article with some great stills from that classic silent German film, which I highly recommend. I believe it's on Tubi if you want to check it out. It's due for a rewatch. I'm going to put it on my list. Really great still. Now, keep in mind, of course, this is a newspaper, but I think their reproductions of the various stills are excellent, considering that it's newsprint. Just a reminder, friends, my film First Man on Mars is brand new on Blu-ray for 2023. Loaded with extras and a chance for you to win one of 2 movie props used in the film. Please visit horroranthologymovies.com for further details. This channel is not monetized, so any purchase you make helps keep the channel alive. Thank you for your patronage. classic still there. And that's definitely, you can see some parallels there. James Whale cribbing some notes on their Golem for his future film, Frankenstein. And here we have a wonderful review by Latimer of the collected works of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Of course, illustrations by Dick Calkins. And as we can see, if we move in closer, for instance, with this comic strip, we have copyright 1942 by the John Dill Company with Dick Calkins' signature. Check these out. Love this. And down here it says, Hollowed Relics of the 25th Century. Can you imagine a civilization based on flashy tin ornaments that never work? Broken bikes, wretched watches, rotten rockets. Man, the art is so good. Dick Calkins. You know, he never gets the cred. You just never really hear much about this guy. But what an artist. Really quite good. Love his line work. And this is the continued story, The Men Who Saved King Kong. This is Fay Ray with Miriam C. Cooper. And the story continues on page 14. Here we come with one of the first of the Monster Market ads. 100 stick-on stamps of the scariest movie monsters for only $1. Post-paid, no COD. And here we are, folks. You can see it in all of its glory. This is the amazing 1971 Berni Wrightson Frankenstein. It's about 20 inches long by 16 wide. That is a healthy poster right there, folks. Free in the centerfold of the inaugural issue of Monster Times. We move on to the book section. Love their little header pieces there. And we have a book by Peter Haining called The Ghouls. Fan club info. Yes, they already fired up the Monster Times fan club. Mushroom Monsters, or The Day the World Ended and Ended, by Joe Kane, focusing on the atomic monstrosities of the 1950s. All of these creatures are giant, yes. Mushroom monsters, no. For example, of course, that's the Cyclops from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Ymir from 20 Million Miles to Earth, not exactly a mushroom monster. And the Incredible Shrinking Man, he battles a tarantula, but of course the spider is normal size, so it's not like he's a mushroom monster. Check it out, folks. Page 20. Nosferatu, written by David Izzo, illustrated by the amazing Berni Wrightson. A very long and in-depth article on H.G. Wells' Things to Come, including the 1935 film. 2036 came before 2001. H.G. Wells' Things to Come. Deep Wells philosophy. Here we have three of the four main controlling forces of humanity as Wells saw them. Very interesting. Number one, the bubble-headed man who cares about nothing but the joys of the moment. He thinks about the pleasures of life, but is blind to its obligations. Number two, youth, caught in the middle of Passworthy and Cabal in the form of Dr. Harding. Youth is in favor of peace and saving lives, and of questioning. Number three, the Stoic logical man, whose long legs are firmly rooted into this world and his faith that people were meant to be the masters of their universe. His quiet moods of rationalization border on the hysterical, and he is called Cabal, which the dictionary defines as a conspiratorial group, ironically enough. And it just gets into it. Not only do they have a variety of fantastic stills from the film, but they really delve into pros and cons, the accuracies, inaccuracies, if you will, of H.G. Wells' classic novel. Highly recommended film. You can see it on Tubi. Another massive digging machine. Of course, there is Raymond Massey. A Prophecy from 1936. The final spellbinding footage comes alive, immortalized on the printed page, a message to us of today from the far future, as H.G. Wells saw it. The space gun has just thundered. All of Everytown still quakes in reverberation, and the first space capsule hurtles heavenward to orbit the moon. The astronauts' fathers, Oswald Cabal, played by Raymond Massey, and Raymond Passworthy, played by Edward Chapman, view the progress on a monolithic TV screen. There is a tense moment of silence, magnifying tensions between the two men. Passworthy shudders, and Cabal proudly exclaims, There they go, that faint gleam of light. I feel what we've done is monstrous. What they have done is magnificent. Yes, and will they return? Yes, and go again and again until a landing is made and the moon is conquered. This is just the beginning. My God, is there never to be an age of happiness, never to be any rest? But Cabal, mankind are such little creatures, little animals. And if we are no more than little animals, then we must snatch at our little scraps of happiness and live and suffer and pass, mattering no more than all the other animals do or have done. Is it that or this? All the universe or nothingness? Which shall it be, Passworthy? Which shall it be? Which shall it be? And on page 28, production and musical notes, the Monster Times teletype, the latest news on genre films and so forth. A little bit on Clockwork Orange here. Then we have the con calendar. Yes, and many issues of Monster Times, they would have the convention calendar, upcoming events. Check this out on page 30, folks. The Old Abandoned Warehouse. 5 Frazetta posters, okay? And they're $2.50 each, or you can get all 5 for $10. And various books here. Book on Virgil Finlay. Of course, Winsor McKay's Little Nemo in Slumberland. Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi. Tarzan and the Vikings by Hal Foster. Wow. And another Hal Foster Tarzan book, Tarzan Illustrated, Book 1. The Hero Pulp Index. And Mushroom Monsters is continued on page 31. And then we have the Monster Times Classifieds, folks. Yes. Let me read a bit of this for you. The Monster Times Fanfare is another reader service of Monster Times. Care to buy, sell, or trade movie stills, old comics, or tapes of an old radio program? Or maybe buy or advertise a fan-produced magazine? An ad costs only 10 cents per word. Minimum 25 words. How about that? So here we go with the classifieds already queued up for issue number 1. Various things. Wanted Sax Romer books. Factors Unknown numbers 1 and 2. Obviously fanzine. Wanted 16mm and 35mm horror and science fiction films, trailers, and shorts. Buy, sell, trade comics, pulps, comic strips, Marvels, DC, and many others. Fandom Stranger fanzine contains sensational art, articles, and stories by fans and pros. $1. Attractive teenage comic, sci-fi, fantasy-loving girls. Your letters will be welcomed by Folo Watkins in Illinois. Okay. Wanted original art by Frank Frazetta. Journey into Comics numbers 9 and 10, 30 cents each, or both for 50 cents. For sale, Captain America number 15, $19. Submariner number 10 for $12. Number 39 for $3.50. Wanted underground comics, especially Gothic blimp works, old yellow dogs, and harder to find issues. And here we have the back page with the Hunchback reading this inaugural issue of the Monster Times. Do you realize that in the Dark Ages we would have been burned at the stake as wizards for this? That ends our look at the premiere issue of Monster Times, Volume 1, Number 1. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, please like and subscribe. and I will talk to you soon.